Hi guys, so I'm here doing a little mukbang. Just thought that I would chit chat a little bit today, and I am so excited to dig in because I love watching these videos. And so I have like one or two on here, a little bit baby amateur, still on that road. But hopefully you can see everything. Thank you for being here.
Hi guys, welcome to my video, and I have crab, papa, sausage, anything they know to want to eat. I'm gonna dip some butter on this crab,
Okay.
cream crab.
Okay.
This is a cream crumb burger, and I'm gonna dip it right there. So guys, I will see you in a minute. Bye.
So thank you for being here again. Today I have the seafood boil. I've got Bloves Smackalicious Spicy sauce, which I just received. And I have her mild sauce, which this one I made maybe a month ago, and it's been in the freezer. So we'll see how that goes. The only thing I didn't do with the spicy was add Coke because I didn't have it. And as far as the chicken broth or water that she, asks on the back of the packet to add, I added the water with the chicken broth that I had made the snow crab legs in. So hopefully that incorporates a little bit of the seafood flavor. And with the mild, I had chicken broth. So we'll see. So let's get started. Today I wanted to share a little bit about my breastfeeding journey with the baby. He is 3 months old, and I just did an update not too long ago. So this one will be more about me. So let's dig in. Okay. So good. Okay, let's start with one of these. So good. So, breastfeeding for me, my oldest is 11, and for him, I was in Texas at that time. And I say that because by the time, we got to California, I feel like there was more people breastfeeding here than in Texas. It wasn't really a thing, but I wanted to do it, so it was important to me. And we're back. So as I was saying, with Nathan, it was important to me. I thought that I knew a lot at the time, 2008, and there was really a lot more now that I know that I totally didn't know back then. And so it was hard for me. I didn't have support. Family was like, he's not getting enough. And he did have jaundice and a hard time gaining weight, which I think now sometimes it takes a while for your milk to come in. So that's just what I know now. But I thought I wasn't making enough. And I think it took a while for the milk to come in, as it does for everyone. Sometimes it can be a couple days. I think with Landon, it was day 4 for me, and I remember it vividly. With him, I probably did a few days, maybe a week, and then I had to supplement. I mean, even at that, I think the doctor, when they saw him, they were like, oh, just supplement, no big deal. So I think, the community, I guess, that I was in was just not conducive to supporting me at the time. When I got here, there was a lot of moms that were breastfeeding, and that was like the big thing. You know, that's what you do. And that's best, which we all know fed is best. It doesn't matter how you feed your baby. But, you know, it was important to me. So here, it was more of a thing. Before I continue, let me start tasting this spicy. And let's get the good stuff. You know, when I watch these, because I love watching these, when people barely dip it into the juice and like, they like dip it and then they touch it off to the side. I don't know if you can see that. It aggravates me so much. I'm like, get in there. And I know it's messy, but you know that going in, you know? So let's. It's good. It sneaks up on you. I had to get a towel because I know it's messy. Ooh, it's a nice kick though. I was so afraid because, as I said before, I tried to order this when I was pregnant. I was so worried it was too spicy. It's got a good kick. Now I will mention that here I didn't do as much. I did half a cup of butter, onion, ginger, and I did 1/4 of a cup of the spicy sauce. So I don't know if when you make the full packet it's like more spicy, but it's so good. It's similar to the mild, and it definitely gives you that kick like after a little bit. So I like it. It's really good. I like her sauces. I even made the original sauce and that was good. So I'm so excited for her that she has this, you know, in production, and I hope they can keep up with our demands. A lot of us like it. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So I got here and it was more prevalent, but by now when I got here, Nathan was 2, so that was done with. And I knew that if I ever had another child, because it was hard for us to conceive, that I would want to breastfeed. And so I did my research with Landon, and you know, I thought I did a lot of research and I thought I knew a lot. But I feel like there's always info kind of missing, you know. With her, she cried a lot, and I don't know, looking back, she might have had a tongue tie. So good. So, I'm gonna try the mild. If I look like a hot mess because of the sauce, forgive me. Anyway. So with her, she cried a lot. You know, when you first have the baby, you're exhausted. And I know that more recently now. You never remember how exhausted you are until you have a newborn. And it's just, it's hard. So with her, you know, my husband would offer to like take her to calm her down because she wouldn't stop crying. And I had just fed her. I didn't know about cluster feeding. There's a lot that I didn't know. And so with her, I pumped. It was hard. The doctor was like, put her on. Put her on to nurse. Feed her a bottle. And then pump. Well, Nathan was in school, so I had my time to dedicate to her. But, you know, it felt like by the time I was done with all that process, because it was hard to put her down, she was hungry again. That's hard when it's just you. At the time, my husband was working, so it was just me. I couldn't keep up. So I pretty much nursed her, like pumped, till she was maybe 4 months. And I had also a friend donate some of her milk, so that was nice. So she had milk. She was supplemented, obviously, half and half. I would say till she was 5 months, let's just say, which is good, you know, like the more you can give, the better. If you can't give it all, that's fine, because your baby needs to be fed. So I know that because obviously I wasn't producing that much either. Like I couldn't produce enough. It wasn't that she wasn't latching. It was just hard. So I knew then again that if I had a third, you know, I would want to definitely like, don't give up, keep going. Fast forward, here we are. And again, it's hard for me to produce. So I mean, I pump, but it's not enough. Where was I? Don't quite know where I was. I guess with Balian, I had told myself, like, no matter what, I'm gonna feed him, you know. And it's a bummer because he had that lip and tongue tie, so it wasn't as easy. If you have a child out there with those, you know, for the most part, I even heard stories where even if they have that, the mom's able to continue to breastfeed, and that's awesome. But usually it's painful for the mom, and uncomfortable. So that was a little bit of a rough start, and so I had to supplement again because he was having a hard time. I think he lost like the max amount. The max amount is usually 10% of their weight. So again, I was told to supplement, but I was determined to do what I could to build my stash. Not my stash, but like enough milk so that eventually he would feed off of me. And that's proven to be difficult. You know, right away he took okay to the bottle and a passy. He was crying a lot too. It could have been a series of things, I don't know. But I had friends who were solely breastfed, and that's difficult when the baby gets older and you have to leave them, or you want to leave them for a date night or what have you, and they won't take a bottle. And so I knew I didn't want that to be the case. And he did okay, and he would go back and forth between my breast and the bottle. So that was good, but now, you know, he's 14 weeks, so 3 months. He is struggling, like, well, because I don't make as much. So in the mornings, like if I put him on, he will eat, but then I don't feel like he drains me. And that's the whole thing. So, you know, learning about the draining, and the more that they eat, the more your breast will produce. So it's been hard. And I did purchase three separate Legendary milk bottles. Pump Princess really helped me. I talked about this before. And Liquid Gold, I didn't notice a difference. And now I'm on Milkapalooza, and same thing. I mean, when I pump, probably get 2 to 3 ounces, rarely 3. And I pump, like I started at 20 minutes, and then I went to 30, and I would notice that I would get a couple letdowns, like around the 30-minute mark. So basically, I guess, to get that much, I would have to do, ooh, got me there. I would have to do 30 minutes. So now I've been trying to do 25, like to calm down, because, you know, I didn't want to quit. And, you know, usually it's a personal goal, really. And so it's a personal goal. And you know, I always said, even with Nathan, I didn't know much research at the time. Like I said, rarely did people breastfeed down there, or at least in my circles. But when I got to California, it was like, oh, we're going to breastfeed for a year or two. I was like, whoa. My goal was always 6 months. And let me say, you know, because a lot of people say like, oh, breastfed, you know, best, they don't get sick as much. And maybe that's the case, but Nathan, like I said, he maybe got breast milk. He got the colostrum. And then maybe a week, honestly, I don't even think that much. He has the best immune system. So, it's not always the case, you know? So anyway, now with Balian, he's getting a lot more, which is awesome, but I'd love to transition. I'd love to transition to where he can be breastfed from on tap. These are pretty big. So that's where I'm at. I feel like postpartum wise, I don't know if I talked about this before, maybe briefly, but I did the placenta encapsulation, and that was not beneficial for me. Sadly. Because I was looking forward to it, so excited, and it's very expensive. About $250. Depends on your area. Depends on what you get done. So I just was hoping that because I was, as I mentioned, depressed beforehand with, you know, just life, I guess. It was a tough year for me. That it would help me prevent that and also increase the milk. Well, my thought now is that if you, because I cried a lot this pregnancy, I feel that if you are down during pregnancy, you're having a hard time, you cry a lot, my only hypothesis is that it may not work. Now, please let me know, have you had something like that happen where, you know, you being pregnant, cried a lot during pregnancy, did the placenta pills, and they did wonders for you? Please let me know, because to me it would be a nice study to do where, depending on how the mom has experienced their pregnancy, what percentage does the placenta pills help? You know, does it help even though you've cried a lot during pregnancy or been depressed? Or is it really just retaking those, you know, hormones, and as your body, you know, changes and stuff, is it just kind of taking that again? Because remember I said the first few days in a different video, I actually cried taking the placenta pills and I felt down. So it definitely did an opposite effect on me, and I just think it's because that placenta was in me, obviously, while I was going through all these transitions. So again, if you've been through this, please let me know. Maybe it's not the case, but it would definitely be interesting to, you know, research that. Yeah, because had I known, I mean, obviously, I had done my research. Some women said it didn't work, but they also said, you know what, but go for it, because if you've always wanted to do it, and it's true, if you wanted to do it and you didn't, you wouldn't know if it is good or not. So for me, it was a no-go. Who's to say it wouldn't work in the future? But unless you got 250 bones lying around to try, I wouldn't do it again. It's pricey. And, you know, the lady who did them was nice, but, you know, I had also bought a binding kit along with that for $75. I asked her prior to, would this be okay for plus size? And she said yes. And so what bothered me was that, you know, she picked up the placenta the day we gave birth. And I think the contract says they have up to 4 days to deliver it. In my nervousness, I thought, man, I want it soon. You know, I'm nervous. I want this thing now. So I think I had the baby, gosh, Friday, right? Well, she picked it up, and I think on day 3, might have been day 4, I was upset. I was like, oh, can you bring it in the morning? She said, no. I'll bring it at 6:30. Perfect. 6:30 comes around, and she texts me, and she says, oh my gosh, in the rush, leaving to come here, I got your binding wrap, but I forgot the placenta pills. Okay. So she said, do you want me to go there and wrap you? Or do you want to just wait for tomorrow morning so I can bring both? And I said, the latter, you know, like, nope. And I was so upset. She's like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what she said. I feel like at that point it's an excuse. If you've done something wrong, first of all, if you're a business, apologize without saying why. Unless, I don't know. Because you know what? Sometimes I want to know why. But let me say this. If I had to spend money for a service, an item, and you messed up, as in you're late, you didn't give it to me on time, or you did something like that, the least you could do, I think, is monetarily give a discount. And listen, I know people make mistakes. I'm not, you know, I get it. But it was already expensive. Like, you could have gone back home and got them. You could have said, you know what? Let me refund something. I don't know. I just feel like for me, I used to, well, I feel like y'all don't know much about me, obviously. I just started. I used to do hair, like highlights. I was a one-trick pony. Like, highlights, like old school highlights, but they were good. I did them on friends, and I always had a guarantee. If you didn't like them, I would dye them back. Like, I would buy a box of color and just color your hair and go from there. For me, I just feel like that's the right thing to do. And, you know, you're invested, because if you know, not to say she had to have a guarantee to get them there, but at least just offer something. I would have been fine with her going back home and getting them. You know, I was just nervous. I was like, man, it's not going to work if I don't take it soon. Apparently that's not a thing. Like, you can take it 4 or 5 days later, however you want, and it'll still work. But I didn't know that. So that was, and then when I did the wrap, because she did do the wrap the next morning, which is super awkward, because I was so annoyed. She did the wrap. It fit. However, like, when it would roll down, it would hurt me, like on my side and my back. Now, I don't know what kind of organ it was digging into, but I'm telling you, it made me like walk really weird. I was in pain. So I ended up only using that one wrap for like a couple days. You're supposed to use it for 2 weeks. She did like text me once to see how I was doing, but it definitely wasn't a service like that. I was expecting like, hey, I don't know what I was expecting. Like, how are you doing? You got any questions? How'd the wrap go? So that was that. Gosh, I keep talking about the lemon, but anyway. Gotta get the good stuff. That spicy is so good. So, I forgot I had sausages in here too. So, anyway, I don't know that I finished the story about my hair. My whole point to that is, you know, I guaranteed something in case I messed up, so that there was like a sense of, you know what, I care, let me fix it. I even did nails. Like, I feel like I was just watching, it's Joe Cola, got his first video out. I enjoyed his video. And he was saying like he's a chameleon, and he described it perfectly. I feel the same way. I feel like I can do a lot of things, so much so that I don't even know what I want to do when I grow up, honestly. Like, I've done greeting cards, invitation cards, excuse me, acrylic nails, highlights, even on myself, with toner and everything, thinking I knew. I've crocheted, you know, designed some clothes for babies. Like, I've done a lot of those things, and most, like, not the baby clothes, but everything else, like, I've tried to sell. I got a couple people doing the crochets. I got, let's see, the invitation. I've sold that, but I feel like it never really took off. So I do a little of everything, and I feel like with that, anytime I do something where I'm putting of myself, I'm giving a service or something, you know, I want to make sure that I take care of people and that they know that, you know what, if I mess up, I'm going to fix it. May not be the best way, you know, obviously with hair, because I don't know much. At least it was like, listen, if you got to go to work the next day, dye it back. You know what I mean? I do have hairstylist friends, so forgive me. Probably butchering the whole thing as far as my knowledge because it's limited. But I feel like it's the thought that counts as far as like me doing what I need to do at the time. So, anyway, I feel like this has been long, and so much fun. I love watching these videos, and I just thought if I'm going to update something, might as well do it over food so we can chit chat. If there's anything that I talked about that you have experience in, or you have any tips as far as that breastfeeding, since I'm still pumping, but it's proving to be difficult as far as getting enough, you know, leave those tips and share those with me. Please join me in my next video. Bye, you guys.